telling me I'm sharing application. Oh, let's do better than that. Oh, that's very, very weird. Let's stop sharing
Looks really
that.
cool though.
It was like serious recursion here. It was like, oh God,
Yeah.
no, that level of recursion, I don't think we absolutely need. So let's
Yeah.
try again, and I think it's going to be entire screen. Okay, let's do that. This should work better. Let's see. Should come through now. Yes, indeed. Thank you
Yes.
very much, everybody. Cool.
Perfect.
Okay, so we got our neat tool tour, new, emerging, and alternative tools, because we figured out that there are a lot of tools that people have been using over the last couple of years that aren't so well known, but are really good or really, and sometimes very cool, and that a lot of people are really, let's just say, tired with Teams and Zoom and some of the other things we've been using all the time through the pandemic. Okay, I'm not saying you always have to drop the bread and butter tools, but let's at least be aware of some of the options. And there will be opportunities here for some kind of experience of some of the tools as we go through. We'll share the presentation afterwards, and there'll be links for more experiences and more examples that you can check out later for yourselves. And I'm very pleased to be here with Irene Maweu and Jakob Pedersen from Emerge Africa, two of the colleagues I work with a lot on events and different processes. Okay, so let's in the chat do something called the waterfall. And the way that works is we put something into the chat, and then you put your answer into the text box and just wait. So how I feel now is, for people who hear, how are you feeling right now? How I feel now is, put your answer into the text box and just wait a little bit. Into the text box and just wait. Don't send it yet. Okay. There's a you're excited, you can't wait. Okay, everybody just send your answers. Curious, 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 great, lovely, excited, cool, excited to share. Woo, curious, excited. Curious and excited seem to dominate at the moment. Well, that's nice, that's good. And lots of curious and interested. Oh, wow. Yeah, so there's a lot going on there with the curious and the interested. Okay, and Ralitza is excited too. Okay, we've done the introduction to the workshop. We're going to work with tools in 3 different categories: online whiteboards, interaction during presentations online, and also to some extent alternatives to Zoom and Teams. We'll see how far we get with that, because we essentially have squashed 3 presentations for 3 one-hour sessions into 1.5 hour workshops. So we're going to be pretty selective with what we do. Fatima, if you're stiff, just move your arms and stretch. And if you need to, get up and sit down again later, but you don't have to sit in this desk stiff the whole time. Nobody does. Okay, so I will now hand over to, who should I hand over to? My colleague Jakob, to talk about this little example and to pull us into the example. I'm putting the link into the chat.
All right, thank you, Tony. Yes, we start with our first sort of whiteboard thing here. I will just have to do what Tony here, just clicking the link in the chats. Then we're going to go on to our first example here, where we're going to run as kind of like a icebreaker activity. So this is a Google thing, Jamboards, for those of you who haven't heard of this one before. We have a small example here, but we are asking like, how long have you been teaching or supporting university courses? I see TC, that's Tony. Tony has added in the 10 years. And you do that by, you can add like small labels, small sticky notes. You can choose colors. Um, and I am in the sidebar now. So if you are in the side, then look on your leftmost sides. Look for the small sticky notes. And I see some of you are already putting in there. I
Where would you
haven't been.
find the sticky notes, Jakob?
Where? I find it in the left menu.
And
Um,
what do you do then?
then you just click on the sticky notes.
Fourth
And
option down. Yeah.
yeah, fourth option down, that's correct. Yeah, and you can choose the color that you want to do. I'm going for a green one, and I'm adding in now. I haven't really been teaching anything, so I will just add in, say, like 5 years. And then let's just add that. And I see our participants here are already very busy. So, and once the sticky notes are on, I see our participants also figured out that you can actually move them around on this kind of scale from whether you're new to teaching or you have a lot of experience. I'm going to pull mine,
Okay,
JP5. I'm going to pull that around now. I'm just forgetting
great.
a bit that I'm not actually not sharing my screen, but I think that should be fine.
Okay, position yourselves, colleagues. So we're actually on a scale from new to lots of experience. So if you have 23 years, you're close to the end of that. If you have like 1 year, you're close to the beginning of that. This is an adaptation of a face-to-face exercise, which you can run in face-to-face workshops called the human spectrogram, where you basically outline along a line the two extremes. New to teaching, lots of experience in a room. So from one end of the room to the other end of the room, and you ask people to position themselves, and then you go and talk to them and say, okay, so the person who said 4 years, can you say a little bit more about your teaching or support activity? The person who said 4 years, please take the mic and talk to us. Okay, you can switch on your microphone. Okay, the person who said 3 years, do you want to talk to us?
Perhaps, Tony, they are just toggling between the tabs.
Yeah, indeed.
So for those of you that can hear me, if you have the icebreaker activity open in a separate tab, if you want to speak to Tony, just remember you've got to then select the Workshop 1 Blackboard Collaborate tab, and then at the bottom of your screen, you'll have the option to unmute yourself.
Okay. So, it would be nice to hear somebody's voice.
Talk to me, Tony.
I like you, but I want to hear the voices as well.
Hello, colleagues.
There we go.
Hi there.
Hi, I'm
Tony.
Letshego. Oh, I don't know, maybe. Okay. I'm Letshego, so I can share my experience because I see someone who who responded that they were working for 3 years has not responded yet. So maybe I can
Okay.
just volunteer to take
Go for
part.
it, Leseko.
Yes, so I've been working as a educational technologist for 3 years. So yes, so I am a qualified teacher. So my teaching experience is 4 years, and then my educational technology as a support staff has been 3 years. So that's basically that. I don't know
Thank
if
you
you
very
need.
much. That's helpful. Great. So look, in a face-to-face workshop, when you have more time, or in a longer online workshop, you could pick up on a few people. Some people at the one end, some people at the other end, some people in the middle. So people get a sense of locating themselves in relation to other people's experience as well. And let's just go into the next of these slides. If you go to the top, you can actually move to the next frame, and let's just basically go this question: how much technology do you use in your day-to-day life? So again, you can use the pen, or you can use the sticky. Okay, so very little or all the technology. So locate yourself. Okay, locate yourself along the scale. So for example, very little means I avoid technology as much as I can. All of it means I will use technology all the time. I will go out and look for new technologies to use. I will scare my colleagues and my friends with the amount of technology I use sometimes. Okay, so got a few more coming up here. Okay, the person who said moderate. Can you come into the tab for the workshop Blackboard Collaborate and switch on your microphone and tell us what you mean by moderate in your day-to-day life?
Hi, it's Elise speaking. Can you hear me?
Yeah, very well.
I use it often, but I also try to moderate it that it doesn't take over my life, because it
Okay, in
can be
practice, what does
very,
that mean?
it means that I use it not over the top, if I can put it like that. I use it where it's appropriate, but I also in my private life to distance me a little bit. For example, not using Facebook and all these things, so
Okay,
that my
sometimes you
brain
switch off
can
completely.
rest.
Do you
Sorry?
sometimes switch off completely?
Yes. So that's
Well
why it
done.
goes moderate.
That sounds moderate, but you're not afraid to use technology and use it when you need to. That's good. Okay, and the person who said all of it, can you give us a list of some of the technologies you use day to day?
Hi, can you guys hear me? It's Christy.
Yeah.
So with my current position, we are using multiple different types of technologies. We're using various different LMS systems. We're using a couple of different video production programs and video editing programs. So a lot of different softwares are incorporated into our daily job. And then over and above that, I find that a lot of the things that we are doing can be done better with other technologies and other programs. So I tend to spend quite a bit of my time looking for new ways and new programs to actually use with regards to that. With regards to hardware, it's, you know, the Wacom tablets for videos, different microphone systems, etc., etc. So we use the hardware and the software side of technology. And as I said, I generally try to look for new and emerging technologies that we can use as well that might be better than what we are currently using.
Christy, thank you. You sound like a wonderful example of an uber geek. It has been wonderful to hear all of this as well. Thank you.
Yes, I think that is definitely a good way to describe me.
Okay, so let's come back into the Collaborate room and close the tab for this activity. Right. So what I was going to do is to put people into groups of 3 or 4 to find out if there are any burning questions. But what I suggest that we do instead, because time is going to be an issue through this session, would be to ask if you can put your questions into the chat. And let's just take a minute or two for that and then review the kinds of questions we got and the possibility or impossibility of answering those questions. So if you just put your questions into the chat. And just send them when you're ready. This is fine. Okay, welcome, Ria. We're putting questions into the chat. So Irene, best tools for low bandwidth. Okay, keep sending your questions. Let's hear a few more. Let's see a few more in the chat. No questions are stupid questions. All questions are just questions. And I'm sure you'll come up with more questions as we go. Okay, some offline tools. You're not going to get offline tools here, unfortunately. Okay, good to see her, Ria. Okay, any others? Any other questions? Making video production easier for shy designers. I don't know if I've got that. There may be other ideas in the room about that. Yeah. How do we balance technology tools? There are always overlaps in functionalities. This is a constant issue, Lechego. Okay. Non-synchronous. Okay, non-synchronous, I think we might be able to help you with that, Chris, to some extent. Okay, cool. So just keep sending more if you want, and I think we should just keep moving. Okay, so I think Jakob is going to tell us a bit about some of the issues around the available whiteboard technologies. Yeah, and to start the conversation. Over to you, Jakob.
Yes, Tony, I think should we take these questions just after I've been briefly through the whiteboards? Do you like to highlight, or should we just...
Let's start here. Let's start here.
Okay, let's start here. First of all, maybe put in your chat your experience of online whiteboards, and also your reasons or your thoughts about like how whiteboards could be relevant.
Oh, for NEAT, actually, it's Denise. It's new, emerging, and alternative technologies. So, anyone used online whiteboards before? They tend to be tedious to use. Often they are tedious to use, okay? Yeah, but not anymore. Willem is so past online whiteboards. Okay. Right, so Ralisa's got an answer for Christy about using Camtasia for editing. Okay. Yes, Denise started in Teams, stopped before. Okay, Fatima is asking about OERs. Okay, so some people have used online whiteboards, some people haven't used online whiteboards, and Derek's asking about prediction about the future of learning technology. Should I get distracted by that? Maybe I won't get distracted by that. Maybe Derek remind me of this question at the end. Okay, so Linda found whiteboards, online whiteboards clunky. But then, okay, so some people passed them, some people tried them, some people thought, no way. So, okay, why would we want to use them? What's the point? Student engagement, fun. Yeah, so it's engagement. Brainstorming. Good stuff. So lots of possibilities here. Jakob, let's continue. Tell us about the examples that we're going to mention.
Yes, first I think we just look at this this small grid here with those things with the boards that we have chosen to highlight. We created this grid here where some of them are quite expensive, not expensive, but commercial in nature, where you have to pay. Some of them are free, and some of them are more complex than others. I think we should move on to one that's both free and fairly simple to use, in my opinion at least. Maybe if you can all go to this link for idea boards. If you are in it, there's a small example there of favorite tools. See Tony sharing now. Thank you, Tony. So quite a simple interface where you can add, just like in Jamboards, you can add some labels, and you're welcome to just do that. Some kind of like messages and text. See that Tony's adding an example now. So you can create labels like that, and then you have sort of like simple tools where you can vote for it. I'm just going to upload Tony's post here. So update it, just get 1 like here. So simple voting tools and labels and sticky notes, bit like Jamboards. So it's kind of like restricted functionality, but quite simple. And I guess in some context, of course, I'll let you up to your view. It's probably nice to have sort of like a simple interface like this. Maybe you can ask if anybody has actually used idea boards for any of your student engagements. Tony, anything you'd like to add about idea boards that you have?
Yeah, very simply, that idea boards is very easy to work with, free of charge, not very flexible in some ways. It has some limited functionality, so you'd use it for very narrow range of purposes. There are people in say the Scrum community who are using it for retros and things like that. And yeah, so that actually keeps a lot of things possible. But I would be wary of placing too much reliance on it. It's not also, yeah, so it's simple, quick, usable for some things. Yeah, so let's move on. Anything you want to say about Jamboards, Jakob?
I think that in addition, now that we all have been in Jamboards already, maybe just add a bit more about the tools in the side menu. Of course, we used the stickies. We were able to move those around. We were able to give them different colors. At the side, you also have things like text boxes, and you can add images and circles as well. So I think that's my addition to Jamboards. Are there any other features, Tony, that you would want to highlight?
Or Irene, is there any thought that you have about Jamboard?
Yeah, I think Jamboard is one of the easiest whiteboard to use because it's free, and if you have a Gmail or you're in Google, you can create your own and play around with it. You know, and it keeps whatever it is that you've brainstormed there or whatever content you've put in the Jamboard stays on. Yeah, and most of the other whiteboards have carried kind of the same menu, kind of the same editing tools at the side on the left hand side. So it's kind of a learning where you begin with whiteboard. Yeah. Back to you, Tony.
I like that Jamboard. Yeah, thank you, Irene. I like that Jamboard is very free form, and you can adapt it to almost anything you'd want to use an online interactive whiteboard for. It's not very sophisticated, but it's malleable, and you can do creative stuff with it. The only thing I don't like about Jamboard is that it is very easy for anybody to clear the frame and make everything on a particular frame go away, which can be a bit disruptive, even though you can restore it. Because their permissions system is not very sophisticated. With a little bit more sophistication in permissions, like saying, for example, make it impossible for people with certain rights to, like edit rights, to clear the frame, it would actually make it much more usable for, I would say, kind of more important things where you don't want something arbitrarily to go wrong. Okay, let's move on. I don't think we should go there, but there's another set of tools in a system called Metro Retro, which is also available free of charge and quite sophisticated in lots of ways, and allows for some interesting visualization for, I would guess, strategy and planning kinds of purposes. And they have a lot of templates for different kinds of things, including some people pulled in some visual templates. So, Jakob.
Yes, I see that some of the features, like you said, there's lots of templates. I haven't myself had much time to engage with MetroRetro, but it looks like, first of all, there's a ton of templates, just like this one that we're looking at now, which would be very useful in terms of a workshop setting. Some general tools that MetroRetro has things like commenting tools where you can add text boxes and things, and also voting tools where people can either download or upload different suggestions. And I think that I'm wondering if any of our participants have worked with MetroRetro or used it in any kind of context.
It's designed for use in retrospectives, but the tool set is big enough that you can use it for lots of other contexts and purposes as well. Okay, clearly not a lot of people have used that, but maybe more people have used this tool, Miro. Tell us in the chat if you've used Miro. Anyone had a look at that? What is it about Miro, Jakob? Why are we including it? Thanks, Eugene. Eugenie. Okay.
Miro is like a bit like MetroRetro, also quite a complex tool that offers like quite a few. Some of the features are quite sort of like quite common, not common, but something that we've seen in other tools. Like you can vote, you can comment, you can move things around, make labels. I know that Miro has this. I'm just loading now.
No, Linda, you're right. It is a bit complex for people who are new to it. A bit complex unless the templates that are used are deliberately simplified. It can be a bit complex, but it is absolutely industrial strength. It is being used in business and organizations at a very high level. And the nice thing about education is that we can get education licenses to use Miro for free with our colleagues and with our classes, up to quite a significant number of participants. Okay, so we're not going to go into this one in detail, but the example here is that it's like more sophisticated than how I feel now is. You've got this spectrum of emotions, this wheel of emotions, and you can actually use your little circular stickies to choose which of them you're going to define yourself as for the moment. And here's another example. What should we do with this one, Jakob? Let me put the notes, put it into the chat, the link into the chat as well.
Yes, we could possibly put in, I need to load it myself, put in like small labels just to see where we are on those two lighted scales.
Okay, let's have a look. Opening this up. Ooh, will it do anything useful for us? Okay. And where are we going to find our stickies? Under more tools. Okay. So you can find a sticky note. And the pandemic was destructive to education. Do you highly agree or highly disagree? So I could decide, okay, I'm going to put mine here somewhere in the middle. I'm just going to put my initials in so I can actually show where I belong on this map. And I'd encourage a few more people to have a go at that. And then the second one is my institution is returning to how it was in 2019. Do you highly agree or highly disagree with that? Are you able to access stickies? Yeah, some people are. That's good. Okay, so I see more action going on here, and you can see people's cursors moving around. You can see the action around this. So if you do something simple like this, you can create a kind of quite a lively experience of people sorting out their perspectives. And then you could even do something like the spectrogram, and this is kind of adjusted in a way. So I could say, for example, we have somebody here with a green sticky who basically says they slightly agree that the institution is returning to 2019. If you're able to go back into the Blackboard Collaborate and just switch on your mic and tell us why you think it's only slightly. And if all the cursors moving around is too much for you, you can go to a particular part of the menu, the top right-hand side, and you can decide that you want to hide collaborators' cursors to calm things down a bit, because this can be overwhelmed for some people. Okay, LVR, Linda. I think this is Linda. Is this correct? Tell us why you think your institution is only a bit returning to how it was in 2019.
Tony, you know what? I'm on the fence actually with this one. In many cases, there's a push from management side to get students back on campus and back into the physical classes. But I do find from students' perspective that they resist it because they've now gotten used to attending class in their pajamas with their coffee in bed. And also the lecturers found that, you know, having taught now online and having had the experience of how they can do things more efficiently, are reluctant to return to campus as well. So there's sort of diverse opinions about this, but I do think that there's a very strong push at least to get students back on campus.
Okay, so you could use this kind of device for a discussion as well. And basically pick up people different ends of the spectrum, pick up perspectives in the middle, get some discussion, get a bit of debate going. This is a very, very simple approach to using Miro. And Miro is available for free as well. You don't have to have a kind of, you know, heavy duty account to use it for free. But, you know, education licenses give you a pile of power with Miro, and you can decide how much you need to use that if you want to use that. Okay, let's go back to the main room here and continue from there. Okay, what's going on here? What is this about? Okay, so what we see here is an attempt to set up a whole pile of templates in a structured sequence process for a meeting, which could be a whole workshop. It could be a 2-day workshop. It could be something longer. And so what you then do is to zoom in at each stage to particular templates and work those to record what's coming out of the meeting process. So by the end of the whole workshop, you have an incredibly well documented process that takes you through every single stage. So you can use Miro simple, or you can use it very, very complex as well. Back to you, Jakob.
Thank you, Tony. Just like Retro, Miro is also supporting, like Tony said, like a wealth of templates, very much depending on what the purpose for your Miro session should be. Meetings, workshop, brainstorming, ideation processes. So there is, I looked some of them briefly yesterday, and there's a lot, many. So I think we can just maybe we can take the next slide, Tony, where we can just introduce to Bordle.io. Bordle is an interesting thing because it's kind of like a repository for templates, not just for Miro, but for a variety of other similar tools. Certainly something that I would want to look into later. I think this is quite a resource. And it seems to me that most templates are free, at least those I looked at. And they, yeah, there's a good like sorting. It's good to say go either by tool or by type of session. So I think this is an interesting thing to explore.
Thanks, Jakob. And then the question of how do you choose which whiteboard that you're going to use? What will determine, what kind of criteria would you use to help decide which whiteboard to choose for your purposes? Can you just say something in the chat? Anyone want to say something about the criteria? What would help you make a decision? Just put something in the chat. Free. So free is usually first. Okay, so we're trying to save money. We're looking at functionality based on needs and purposes. Looking at accessibility on devices. Should be natural to use, free and easy and accessible, and a very short learning curve, perhaps even. Depends what you want to use it for, doesn't it? If you want to use it for simple stuff, then you know, the shortest possible learning curve is important. If you want to use it for stuff that's much more sophisticated, yeah, and Linda, the level of technology savviness of the participants. How willing and able are participants to learn something like this? Is it easy to moderate? Okay. Do people know about it already? You know, is there interface knowledge that people have of other kinds of tools that can be transferred across easily? Andrew's saying intuitive. Yeah. Okay, so very important here. So you're looking at a balance then, aren't you, between functionality in relation to the purposes that you have and the suitability for your participants and the cost in relation to your budget. Yep. So now, obviously, it's important that software like Miro and Mural, which is one of its major competitors, are available on very generous education licenses. Thank you, Kath. Absolutely right. Free education plan to staff members and students. What they want us to do is they want us to get our students to use Miro so that later on, when they're in business or organizations, they will persuade those organizations and businesses to pay for Miro. It's very obvious. The same logic that Microsoft has for offering generous site licenses to institutions, for example. Okay, so of the ones that you've seen so far, which are the ones that actually seem attractive to you? You can tell us in the chat if you like. Any other tools that you like? Are you curious about Miro? Do you want to try some just simple stuff? Miro and Jamboard. Miro and Jamboard, the high end and the lowish end side of it. Metro is also fun. Okay, Jamboard, good way to get going. And let's go. Yeah. Yes. Okay, so we're going basically, are we going very sophisticated or are we going simple? So there's attraction both ends of the scale, isn't there? Okay, should we move on to focus on stuff which is about interaction during presentations? And here I'm going to be using something called Slido, which is well known and very usable and has very generous allowance for free use. And I'm not saying you should use Slido as opposed to anything else, but this is a good example as far as I'm concerned, because there are lots of alternatives in this space as well. So let's see. There's a question here about why you would want to use a feedback system. And let's put the Slido number into the chat. Anyone else has it first? You'd go to slido.com, right? Thanks, Irene. It's the 4865408. Go to slido.com and you use that number. Why would you want to use a feedback system during presentations? Why would you want to do that? Okay, so one person's in already in slido.com. Come into slido.com in another tab and enter that code. 2 people are typing. Come and join us. We're up to 4 exponential growth so far, 6. Okay, you want to use it for review. Okay, what else? To know what questions the audience has, to make absolutely to adapt on the go. Is your presentation relevant? Okay, tweak it as you go with the audience, right? Connect with participants, very good. Check for understanding. Engagement's all about engagement, all about connection, all about relevance. Denise, I'm not sure what the limit is here. I think that depends on the license that you've got. But you know, the number of people you've got here is well within that limit for a free license. Engagement. Okay. Right. So you've got a lot of good stuff.
Tony, I
Talk
think
to us.
when you are creating some of the polls or the interactivity, it actually tells you that because you are free, this is how much you can do and that kind of thing. So it actually helps you out.
Yeah, I haven't checked that recently. Okay, so Denise uses Beta Poll. Interesting. So this is a free tool, Denise? Okay, good, because there are other examples coming up as well. Thank you very much for that example too. Let's move on to the next one. Whoops, and the next one is, which of the following feedback systems have you used? Again, with the same code in Slido, let's have a sense of which systems you've used of the ones listed here. Okay. Whoa, okay. Kahoot's winning at the moment. Mentimeter second, then Slido. WooClap's coming up somewhere. Something else also features. Okay. Let's see a few more. We've had 8 so far in the poll, 10. Let's have a few more. Okay, so far it's Kahoot, then Mentimeter, then Slido. Kahoot and Mentimeter are drawing. Okay, so you can play these games, you know, who's winning at the moment, who's not winning. Something else might be, what would it be? That might be Better Poll and others. Okay, and then the last one. How would you rate the LMS that you are currently using in your institution? And I'm not sure what we've got here. Okay, let's go. And I've forgotten the exact questions I asked here. But in any case, can you help us interpret these answers, Jakob?
Definitely see that the 4-star rating is, I see 3.7.
37% will say that actually their LMS counts as 4-star. Only 25% regarded as anywhere close to perfect. Yeah.
Which is
So
quite good, I guess.
It is good. I mean, to actually have 21 who think it's that close to perfect, and that they give it 5 stars, because every LMS has imperfections and problems, and the average of 3.7, not too bad. Okay. So of course, a lot of people have used Mentimeter. Mentimeter's got a bit of different functionality, and yeah, but it's kind of, also fun to use. In meetings, last couple of years, a lot of people have been using that. WooClap, we got a license at UCT for that. And that's coming up quite fast. Want to tell us about this one and the next one, Jakob?
Let me tell about the next one.
Okay.
Maybe I will just leave that to you.
Okay, thank you.
That
Fine.
one haven't actually worked.
TryPingo is a feedback system developed by a German university, which they made available online to anybody who wants it for free. But obviously, it means you're reliant on the stability of their servers. And if you have faith in the stability of their servers, they've got some decent functionality. So you could use that. That's a possibility. Another free tool is something called Particify, which is available organizationally for a fee, but they have some limited functionality available on a free website. Which is again available to everybody. I'm not sure why those two that came up in the search results are both from German organizations, but that's just how it stacks up sometimes. Okay, so
there is a question, Tony, about licensing for Mentimeter.
Okay, Denise, the thing about Mentimeter is that I think with every one of these systems, there are free licenses available for very limited feature set and limited scale of use. So that I think to get anything useful out of Mentimeter, you need to actually pay money. I think Slider's got a slight advantage in that you can get enough power out of it and enough scale even on the free membership. But some people would say that Mentimeter allows you to do a lot more and has different kinds of designs that software like Slido doesn't have. Yeah, so your beta.poll everywhere. Beta.poll everywhere, is that just because it's in beta or because it's better?
No, it's because the actual poll everywhere is licensed. So the beta version they've made available for general use.
Okay, so that is essentially the one which they're basically getting you to test the software for free. And that's the deal that you've got. So you kind of accept that sometimes things might not work perfectly, but you get it for free. Okay, great. Okay, so any other questions or comments at this point? Let's give you a minute for that, because I think we might have enough time to do some of the other things that we want to do. Isn't that shocking? Okay. So, should we move on? The next section is about alternatives to Zoom and MS Teams. Yeah. Would it reflect your experience that from 2020 till 2022, that you feel you get bored with Zoom and MS Teams sometimes? And I'm wondering if, you know, if you're in UP, have you had time to get bored with Blackboard or Blackboard Collaborate yet? I'm sure you're not bored with that yet. Okay, but it's like we've been using the same software so much for so many years. Yeah, so right, so what's your experience of synchronous online meeting environments? Like Zoom and Teams, have you just been using those? Have you been using other things as well? Tell us in the chat, what have you been using? What have you been working with? Discord, yay, Discord. Well, this is great. And Meets. You're talking about Google Meets, Eugenie? Is that Google Meet? Yes, okay. So Discord. So like, you know, a lot of people in the kind of tech community will use Discord, but you can use for other things as well. Gather, Skype, Business, Google Meets again, Zoom, Meet, Teams has not been my friend. Teams is default for our organization, University of Cape Town, but Teams, again, I don't think is my friend either. I like Google Meet and Zoom much better. Of course, Eugene does everything. Okay, and Teams is default for Eduvos. Okay, you can live with it. You can use it. It's usable. Okay, not very friendly, but still, never mind. If you've got it, you might as well use it. Do you agree with that? It's sad we can no longer record meetings. You can use outside tools to record meetings in Google Meets, Linda, but it's a bit awkward to set up. You know, like you could use Camtasia, you could use other things to just record the meeting if you wanted to, but it's more hassle. Okay, so why do we use these environments? Oh wow, Derek asks the awkward question, are we bored with Zoom or tired of being mediated? Just say a bit more about that, Derek.
Hi, Tony. Can you hear me?
Very well.
I think what I mean by mediated is your screen to my screen, and we have this impression of being together in the same place. But in actual fact, you don't know how hot it is here in Melville, and you've no idea whether there are a range of other things happening to me, and we're not really aware of our material circumstances. The video allows us to feel connected, but we're still quite removed from each other.
Okay. So how hot is it in Melville at the moment?
It's a nice day, but I've got we had rain yesterday, so that actually cooled the air, and that's nice. We've had water problems here, so that's been hectic. But you've got a bit of more context in our conversation already, which has kind of created some connection.
Okay, I think that's important. What's important here is to actually build the human context as far as you can. And we're not doing that intensively in this workshop because the workshop has another purpose, but we try to do that as far as we can every online activity that we run. Okay, and Tanya's in Napier, or some people would say Napier, Overberg. Okay, so we get around this country. Okay, and Ralitsa was talking about gather.town, which is a synchronous environment with a kind of visual and spatial metaphor. So you could compare it with Kumo Space, which is being used for the social interaction in this conference. Yup, we use it to get enough connection the synchronists get enough connection to be able to engage with each other and work together, but we can use it more effectively to get more connection and to have better collaboration and better connection as well. So thank you for that very much, Derek. Okay, so we're going to do something similar. We're going to actually at some point step out of Blackboard Collaborate, and we're going to try something else in another environment. And when we do, you might want to switch off the video and the audio in Blackboard Collaborate until we come back, because otherwise there could be conflicts between the technologies as we step across environments. And like all the stuff we're doing at the moment, it works best from laptop or desktop. Okay, so tell us a bit about some of these environments, please. Yeah, would you want to have a go, Irene?
Yeah, Google Meet is not spoken about a lot. It's really easy to use because it comes with your, you know, when you set up your calendar, it comes with that. If you want to use it, you can use it, and you just send the link to people, and it's really easy, and it doesn't use a lot of bandwidth. So that's why I like it. And at the moment, they have added quite a number of supporting things like breakout rooms and a few other things. So that's why I like Google Meet. And then you don't have to go and set it up and set it up and set it up like you do with Google and other spaces. Yeah, I mean with Zoom and other spaces. Yeah.
Okay, I'm also interested to have a look at the breakouts because I've known that's been coming for a long time, but I haven't seen the breakout functionality in Google Meet yet. So maybe that's something I missed. Okay, and the nice thing about Google Meet also in relation to bandwidth, I've seen people who can't get Teams meeting for them and can't get Zoom meeting for them and are always dropping out of Zoom rooms, do very nicely in Google Meet. Okay, and then Jitsi. What do we know about Jitsi? Any thoughts about that?
If I may,
Jacob?
just add on Jitsi. User interface is quite familiar, in my opinion at least, to tools like Zoom. It looks pretty much like Zoom, but I think an important feature now Irene spoke about, so asked like quite early in the session about how about those with limited bandwidth. I haven't tested it out myself, but for Emerge Africa, we always think of our colleagues in particularly the western part of Africa that have at times very limited and unstable connections. And Jitsi actually provides quite an upfront functionality to adjust how much bandwidth you want to use, whether you want things to be well performing on the screen or you want it to be of high quality. So I think that's at least like one feature that for me stands out about Jitsi in sort of like operational way, that you can adjust how much bandwidth you are available for your session.
Thank you. And because Jitsi is also outside the big oligarchies, it's not owned by Microsoft. It's not owned by Google. It's not owned by any of the massive tech conglomerates that try to track you across the entire internet. It's not owned by Facebook. It means that you don't have the same sense of being under potential surveillance in the most benign sense of the word than you would be in, say, Zoom or in one of the Microsoft tools or in Google Meet. Okay, so let's move on a bit here. What I'm going to do in a minute is to start a session in a system called Butter. And Butter is a fairly new company, a startup from Denmark, And I don't know why they chose to use the butter metaphor, but it could be just that Denmark produces a lot of butter, or they want this to be a kind of bread and butter app. And they've got a slightly different approach to how they think about synchronous software. I'm going to show you something behind the scenes now. My controls about butter. Let's do this here. Where are we? Okay, so I've got my controls behind the scene for this butter system, and I'm going to start the session. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Jakob or Irene to put the link to butter into the system, and we'll take it from there. So if you can put the link to butter into the system, and where are we? There we are, our butter session. Okay, right, I'll just continue. Or should I say don't join for myself? Let's continue anyway. Let's continue. So you can see what it looks like without all my controls. And what they try and do now is they pull you into the waiting room. Okay, and I'll admit people from the waiting room. Okay, you'll see people coming in from the waiting room. Okay. And if you wanted to, you could actually blink your images, your cameras. Okay, they want me to upgrade for some reason. Okay, here we go. And Nandi's coming in as well. We've got a bunch of people here. Okay, so let's make sure that everybody gets in. And we're gradually coming into the main room here. Whoa. If I wanted to, I could have some music playing here. I could do different things in the background. So let's work with what we've got here, the people we've got here. If you want to come in, please feel free to come in. Somebody's already discovered the chat. Okay, and seeing some TUT faces, old familiar TUT faces coming in. This is very nice. Okay, so I'm going to, okay, here we are. Unmute audio. I'm going to start the agenda here for this. Okay, I'm turning on my vid as well. It doesn't like this. It actually shows my snap camera. I could actually adjust this as well. In fact, I'm going to turn my vid off for this purpose because it is causing some conflicts. Okay, so one of the things that we can do is we could use reactions of different kinds and a soundboard. And for the soundboard here, I could actually say, well, I could say I could do crickets, or I could do yeah, that's the butter thing. Okay, or okay, so you can do all those kind of silly little things as well. I need to mute one of the apps. Okay, so let's just do that. Sorry, it looks like there's some feedback coming through here. Let me do that. Let me mute that one. That's better. Better sound. I'm hoping. Yeah,
Yes.
I'm opening two screens at the same time. Do the hallelujah. Okay, I haven't enabled the hallelujah for all participants though. That's the trouble. Okay, so where are we here? Let's just get this right. because I have to just check which window I'm in here. I'm in this window. Okay, that's good. This one, yeah. You can still hear me, right? Okay, good. So in your chat, you can do very different things. You can, for example, in the chat, you could decide to add a file. You could decide to add an emoji. You could decide to paste in a GIF if you wanted to. You could even search on Giphy to bring a GIF in. So you can actually do very different kinds of things inside the chat. And I see, for example, Achego has discovered how to bring in one of the avatars, and you can have an avatar, not necessarily your photograph if you want to. You can do those kinds of things. Let's look at the agenda. I'm deciding to start the agenda here. And I could actually get some music in on the background if I wanted to. Let's see how this goes. Okay, somebody's living in Cape Town. I like Abdullah Ibrahim's music, so I could have Manenberg in the background if I wanted to. But you'll notice that I've got a lot of stuff stacked up in advance. Okay, and then I could start an activity which is called getting to know who is here. Okay, and I'll form you into breakout groups where you can get to know each other a little bit better, just for a bit. Let's see how that goes. So it'll be allocated in 7 seconds. Something else I can do with the breakouts would be to reshuffle the groups. Okay. Welcome back, everybody. Now the two of me again. This is disconcerting. Oh, I'll tell you why. Let's just check something here.
Tony, just remember you're muted on both sides now.
Yes, I'm now unmuted. Okay. So come and have a look in the whiteboard and any impressions that you have about Butter so far. Good question. Question mark. I agree. Maybe too early to tell. Doesn't feel completely feature overwhelmed. Interesting. Right. Enhancements to previous graphics going on. Okay. Let's close this one. Okay. And let's try and go back to the main Blackboard Collaborate. Let's go back to Blackboard Collaborate. And we can come out of Butter. And I want to show you some of the things behind the scenes in Butter.
Just a quick question. Are you able to record a session in Butter?
And the trouble with the free membership is that there's no recording. Free membership allows you to have quite a big meeting, but it doesn't allow you to record, unfortunately.
There's always a catch.
There's always a catch. They're always trying to get you into the system to work with it. That's right. Okay, let's just kind of go back a bit here. Let's see the view we can get here, bringing up my dashboard. Okay, the thing about Butter is that you can actually record, you can actually set up a lot of meeting templates within Butter for different kinds of meetings that you want to have. You can duplicate them. So instead of setting up a meeting totally from scratch, you just duplicate your meeting template with all the activities, all the resources, and you just go in and make the changes that you want to make. In the setup for meetings, let's have a look at the setup here. You can add your room description. You can invite people to collaborate with you. You can set up an agenda with different kinds of activities. You can draw on a toolbox.
Colleagues, is it just me, as everyone else lost Tony?
For my side, I also lost Tony Dennis.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
All right, at least I'm still here.
Yeah, we are still here. Oh, Jakob, will you continue then?
Yes, I'm also going to be out in a little bit because they're going to switch off the power here in Cape Town. But anyways, a few minutes. So Tony was speaking about the templates that are available for Butter. And maybe since I think we are, I guess most of us are back into the Blackboard session. Maybe we can also share the thoughts we had about Butter, about being in the session and your experience. I think for myself, being in Butter just creates a very sort of an informal, cozy environment.
I like the fact that you can see, if everybody puts their videos on, you can have the full view of the group. Instead of just seeing, like the participants on the side, like in Teams, you can only really see the presenter or whoever, or you've got to scroll through the people. So that's a nice feature.
For me, I think it's fun to use and great for collaboration. That's the two aspects that I experience on the Butter app or software.
Yeah, Jakob, yes, I think that Butter is very exciting. The color also makes it very inviting and fun. And I think that it will be very good for students' work and projects. They really like that because then you can really play with a lot of tools on the interface, and you have very exciting emojis, etc. So it's really fun to work with it. So that's what I like about Butter. So we keep exploring, and hopefully we can have some Butter in our classrooms. Yeah, thanks, Jakob.
Why I like Butter most is because of the broadcast that you can do when you are the host, the broadcast that you can do in the breakout rooms, and everybody can hear you, unlike other tools that we use. So that's one of the things. And then I think Butter is very playful. You notice that you can use avatars and that kind of thing. So it's really, really playful, unlike other places that we use. Yeah. Back to you, Jakob.
Yes, I was just WhatsApping with Tony in the background. He had an unexpected power cut, and I'm also out of power, but I found another connection now. So welcome to South Africa. Irene, I think that we are at scheduled time. I guess I'm just checking with the moderator. We are about 10 minutes left. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. About 5 minutes, actually. Yeah. No, is it 1/4 past that we end? At 1/4 past, so 10 minutes. You are correct.
All right, sure. Irene, I think we should move on to our last slides. Now, Tony's not sharing at the moment, and I'm not sure my screen sharing is moment. So we can just put in a question in the chat, just as the beginning. You type in the text field, but just wait with sending. So I'm just going to type this question that we otherwise had on the slides. So the question is, as thoughts, I am taking this me is that's so I'm putting it that's taking away with me is I'm going to put in this question now. Type your answers, but don't send yet. Are we just going to give it like a few seconds? And when I say send, then you can send that through. Okay, are we going to count down? We can say 3, 2, 1, send. Nandi is noting that online tools can be fun, and that Derek, that the habits that we already have still matters. And Cornet, that's so much more to explore. And Tanya is suggesting another app, a PDF conversion tool. Irene is noting the possibilities that exist in there. And also Christy, exactly, Christy, you have like what we wanted in our session, that there are other things out there that exist that might be more user friendly than what we all come to use over time, especially during these few years. All right, are there more replies? Derek is mentioning the habits. Zero is on how we can improve engagement, and how we can involve participants to be knowledge contributors as well, and I guess also creators. That's true, Tanya. Lots and lots of tools, but I think what we also see is that many of them have quite features that are familiar or quite similar. I see we have 5 minutes of the session left, so I think we'll move on to the last waterfall, the last question that I'm going to type in. And the question is how I feel now is. And I just need to spell correctly. Putting how I feel now is. Just wait a bit with your sending your replies, but just type it now. I'm going to count down in a bit. I think I can count down now. Say 3, 2, 1, send. Denise hungry. All right. Nandi is informed. Christy, they're excited to make use of new interesting tools. Christy, I hope you take away something that you can use and explore further. And thank you for joining us. Tanya remains curious. Relit's excited. Chris as well. Thank you to Lesero for wanting to explore further. And I'm really grateful for a great session from me as well. I really enjoyed being part of the session and convening as well.
All right, colleagues, I think if You are happy with it, Jacob and Irene. I think that brings us to the end of this wonderful session.
Thank you.
I certainly sat here making notes. Metro Retro is something I'd like to investigate further. Also having a look at butter. Yeah, thank you. I think this is wonderful. Maybe before we sign off, is there just one or two questions for our workshop presenters that someone would like to ask in the audience? You're welcome to switch off your mics. On, not off.
I just want to know, is there going to be, are we going to have access to a recording? Because I unfortunately missed the first part.
Yes, all of the sessions are recorded, so we will make them available at a later stage, and I believe they'll be uploaded either on the website or they'll be communicated in a different format. Yes.
Thank you.